welcome back. My name is Dean, and we're here yet again to entertain you, or at least talk to you. And if you find it entertaining, great. Welcome back to the program. Everybody that I get a chance to work with on a daily basis, please welcome Lachlan Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. He's the morning show host of The Locker Room, not just a clever name. It is his name. He's from Edmonton. That's where he is today, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. My friend Ryan Lindley from the Sheeple Shepherd podcast, he's here as well. As always, this is brought to you by our friends at Kivlaw Defense Attorneys, kivlaw.ca. If you're looking for an excellent attorney to walk you through the legal process, our friends at Kivlaw do it. Call Robert today or just shoot him an email, robert@kivlaw.ca, if you're looking for some defense help. What's that?
He does speeding tickets.
He does not.
Too.
No, he doesn't do speeding tickets. He's a
trying to
real
get me
lawyer.
out of all my speeding tickets.
He's in Ontario. You're in Alberta. Free. That doesn't matter. No. Nice, though. Nice try. Anyway, it's not entrapment. No, it isn't.
It's entrapment.
Listen, I'd love to talk about your speeding tickets and how you felt trapped by the legal process that everybody has to go through when they're driving, specifically 30 kilometers over the speed limit. But in due time, we'll get there. Please welcome back to the program today, one day only. I don't know if he's going to come back. This will be the determining factor. Please welcome to the program, Raine Maida from Our Lady Peace, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see you. How are you, dude?
Good to be here.
Good to see you. Are you back in Toronto? Is that where you are? Is that where we have you today? You're back on home soil, bro.
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's so good to be back at the city. Like the heat's going on. It's beautiful. Good old Vitalik just spoke at. Was that? It's a good day, and now I get to end it with you guys.
Sorry about that.
No, that's a good thing. I love it.
That's nice of you to say. But, yeah, but you're in town for the a little bit of sarcasm.
I usually am sarcastic. No sarcasm. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, dude, it's still one of the greatest moments from the show was the last time we had you on. And your lovely wife poked her head in and said hello, and it made us all laugh. And the look on your face, because you were like trying to do two things at once. And for anybody who lives in a house, like I've got my kids, they'll lean into the stuff that I'm doing, and they're like, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Guys, I'm in the middle of something here. Come on!" But still, it was maybe the greatest moment that we've had on the program.
What was so special for me was it was clearly an interaction between a husband and a wife. And I don't know exactly what she said, but I think she made some kind of a comment like, "Oh, I thought," after Raine was like, I'm doing a podcast here, honey." And she was like, "Oh, I thought you were just talking to one of your asshole friends," I think she said.
Yeah.
She's not wrong.
Yeah. Well, listen, dude, great to see you. You're in Toronto for the Futures Conference. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes.
What is it? I saw a picture of you today. This is you on stage, and you guys put it out on your official Our Lady Peace. Obviously, Raine Maida, lead singer of Our Lady Peace. And you're like super business guy, which I want to get to as well. We're going to talk about Trainwreck 99, the Woodstock doc. I know you played Woodstock, and you and I have been kind of DMing back and forth about just the special itself and you being there. But tell us about the futurist stuff, because a lot of people know that you're kind of on the cutting edge of trying to help out artists, trying to figure out ways to get paid and trying to offer solutions to people, which is one of the things that you don't talk about very much. I know you do, but not a lot of people hear enough about what you're trying to do for struggling artists, specifically in this space.
Yeah, like Web3 is a whole different thing. Like the component of blockchain. Like I've been in the blockchain world for a while. It utilizes blockchain, but it changes the game, and it has nothing to do with crypto. And what we can do with it is basically like I have intermediaries at every of that control my audience. Like they own my fans. Middle layers don't share anything. They don't share the data. Like I'm not going to name names, but like social media, like it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous that these companies that are built these companies off the backs of artists, off the backs of creators. And what Web allows us to connect direct to those fans finally. And really like take it's Jay-Z, you got to be a businessman first, right? And so and artists these days more than ever, sort of like having that direct connection to your audience, your fans, and owning that data, exploit it or sell it, but just so we can talk directly is the future. It's like 85% of artists live at like $2,000 or $3,000 above the poverty line. You know, that doesn't set a really good course for like a prolific. Web3 is cool. Crypto, I don't know. I don't even know blockchain. I mean, I don't even know. Away from that, the whole speculative thing of NFTs and these PFPs, Bored Apes is cool, but everything besides that kind of sucks and has really set the industry back and Web3 back because of pump and dump stuff, and it's given everything a bad name. And now music fans are like risk adverse as an acronym because they just think it's like either elitist or it's a scam. It's just we have to like recalculate now, recalibrate, and get away from all the year that was a frenzy. I know that's a lot. I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you mentioned it because, you know, you and I come from that traditional era, right? You know, like I'm from traditional media, you're from traditional music where, you know, you had intermediaries that, you know, you basically were hired. I was hired, or you would get signed, your band would get signed. And then you wouldn't see all the different levels of people between, attaboy, drinking wine right now. You wouldn't see all the different. That's okay. I love it. You wouldn't see all the different levels of people who would skeeve from your work, right? You wouldn't see all the different intermediaries, as you pointed out, of people who got in the way of you and your fans, got in the way of you making money, who found ways to take a 0.5% here or 1% there. And what you're talking about with this web 3.0, or what you're talking about with NFTs, and I know what you're talking about with blockchain, is very different because, you know, when you get into this space, and we've kind of explored the idea of moving this onto blockchain as well, and I get the reputational damage that's been done to blockchain over the past little bit. But what you're talking about is like this realization, and I don't know when you came to it, that hold it, how many people have had how many hands in my pockets and then in the pockets of artists over the years? Like, that's what you're talking about. Like, that's how you come at a lot of the entrepreneurial stuff you're doing in this space. At least that's what I'm gathering from, you know, conversations we've had and some of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I make that pie chart. I think I did it one time. I was, you know, LA, I was producing and like working with young artists. And I remember I made a pie chart for an artist to start. Grocer does and how much they take, and then a manager and a lawyer and an agent, and just to kind of talented. And he just signed to Epic Records, and I was like, hey, just I know this is like before you go and like buy a Ferrari, like understand this. But then I looked at me, you know, this is me too, and this is not good. And so that was years ago basically, and I just I've started building and got into tech and trying to build stuff but Web3 and blockchain really is like, I lived through that first, like you were saying, Dean, like I lived through that buying physical, like actual, you know, CDs or vinyl, and then it got to 99 cents a song, and fuck, I'd gladly go back there because subscription and Spotify, anything. So we're now at this subscription model for streaming that is just a huge revenue stream for artists, and so it's all about the clawback for me. Anywhere we want that happens to be is their direct connection using Web3 to create your the core principle of Web3 for me is like the communities that build it also get to own it. Really, like for real, new concept that we haven't had yet, and we actually just went across Canada. We did this Ray Kurzweil and stuff, and my app drops, which is you know Web3 big concert, and we onboarded thousands of new fans. We raised a bunch of money for Unite with Ukraine, just a variety of really cool shit with the app, and it just shows it. Like fans, they know they're in. I mean, I am for my favorite artists, and I don't go buy, you know, big TV on the radio fan. I don't go buy one of like their rare vinyls to go flip it, you know, and try to make money. The whole NFT, when you said the NFT space has got a bad name, that's what gave it a bad name. Is all these, you know, a Bored Ape or a CryptoPunk or whatever, you know, community was launching these things. It set us back like 2 years, unfortunately.
It's weird. Go ahead, Locke.
You know what is interesting? Just coming from the just coming from the radio side of things, Raine, and again, radio people don't make a lot of money, but it was really hard to watch these bands that were climbing and I've spent my career at rock radio, but they would, they'd get a taste of some success in Canada, maybe eke their way into a top 10 record, and then they'd start to tour and they'd open up for a band like Big Wreck or Our Lady Peace or Nickelback or whatever, and they'd tour the country and they'd do they'd whore themselves out, and they'd show up at the radio station and do the pony show. And these guys would show up, and at the end of the interview, you'd want to share your lunch with them or see if they needed a place for a shower. It was so fucking hard to watch these kids struggle. And you know what? I started to see this decline in rock. I'd say probably 20 years ago, it just started to go like this. And I'm like, these kids can't afford it. They're driving around in their mom's Winnebago. And they're literally sleeping on fans' couches. They're getting whatever. And it was so... The thing that drives me crazy about this business is we need those guys that are creative. We want... If you don't have that, you don't have that art, right? Like it was... Do you think there's a turning point here coming, Raine, where guys will be willing to risk everything they have to go back out on the road?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really comes down to the business model for like 99% of artists out there. So the idea, there's a great called 1,000 True Fans. I can't remember the author. I apologize. But anyway, it really points to 1,000 True Fans. They actually, like the economics of it, you can make like 150 grand a year, like, kind of baseline. And it's practical. It works, but it's so that's why with my app drops, it's about creating that. And so I'm bullish that most artists can find more than 1,000 true fans, have the ability to talk to them right now. There's something like Patreon, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Like I get a little bit antiquated for me as an artist. I don't think a subscription works. Like I don't want for an Our Lady Peace token or whatever you want to call it, and then now I'm like day or every week or every month and on a schedule. Like that doesn't work. It's just not the way we work as artists. So this whole Web3 thing about finding that community, building it, having them feel ownership. Maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's 2,000, maybe some artists get 10,000, but it gets you into the realm where I tell my kid, like, yeah, you're not gonna make banker money, but like you can it's somewhat sustainable compared to where we are today.
So what's the name of the app, Raine? Because I love the idea. Like I as you're explaining it to me, I love the idea that you're giving this to people. You're encouraging people to do what you do, to create, make music, go on the road, to take control of, the process, right? Not just the process of getting music to people, but process of that relationship that you have with your fans. So what is the name of the app and how does it work and when does it drop? Explain that to us if you can.
Yeah, it's called Drops with 2 R's and the name years ago, but because everyone calls everything a drop now. But regardless of that, it's on the App Store. It's both on the Google Play Store and Apple, and we're just last 9 months we launched it around the OLP tour, hugely successful, and I'm just starting to about like I like legit look at it like if you don't, because there isn't anything out there that look at this. We call it, I talk about Web3 all the time as I have with you guys, but it's really Web 2.0. You can just flip a switch and like e-commerce on Web 2 goes away, and there has to be a transition. So we're kind of in the middle there, and we just make it really bad. Come on, a campaign is free. Our first tier is like this. Notice, if you're on a Nike store and you're gonna buy a pair of shoes, all of a sudden you get an ad, sign up, and we do that at the merch booth. Like we give the band like a QR code, and you give the fans what they're just gonna buy but now you have them in your community. Why would you not do that? I can't think of why you would ever leave fans on the table or not use our app to try to capture your audience or your show. I consider at this point, anyone that buys a ticket to an OLP show, super fan. I want you in this community, and essentially, and it's not to sell you. This community, we gift people digital, like gifting someone, whether it's a demo or it's some digital art. That's easy for us as an artist. That's simple. We have that shit. It doesn't take away from trying to do on a tour. And all of a sudden, we're going to build a community. Like our US run, we'll have like 20,000 people in the OLP community. Just to tell you guys, after 20 years of touring, literally standing on stage, just playing to thousands of fans every night. Like every punk band in the world, when you start touring, you put out a clipboard, you try to get email addresses. Ours is pathetic. Like it's awful, and I'm sure half of them don't even work anymore. So I know this thing works, and I know as you move along, we'll figure out partly their community. Is there, you guys want us to do an exclusive footage just for you guys? We'll give them like first crack at tickets down the line and VIP stuff. The utility you can build into it is endless. It's really whatever you can think of, but it's just caps. That's the difficult part, and we made it super simple.
Yeah, it's called Drops, DRROPS or DROROP. Is it S or a P? Sorry, my bad.
2 R's. ROPS.
2 R's. Drops. And is this just for musicians, or because I'm hearing other applications in here, because I'm wired like you a little bit, where I'm like, I wonder if we could use that. I wonder if there's an opportunity to try. Is this an individual thing? Is it an artist thing? Is it a musician thing? Is it a creator or influencer thing? Like, who's this targeted at?
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously started with music because it's like a but at the end of the day, this is really, we're talking to like cannabis conferences, just people that even like banks that are doing an event, some of them around music, just gifting someone something, a digital collectible, call it an NFT. We try not to, but to just make that value exchange where, hey, we want you in our community. We're not going to exploit it. We're not going to, none of those attributes of all typical marketing bullshit, but it doesn't have to just be music.
Well, that's awesome, dude. That's that's the thing, right? Did you ever think you'd get into the business side? Because you're like, you're obviously a creative. I've known you for quite some time, and you see people when they get older, they get into these side hustles and hobbies. I'm going to download it as soon as we're done. There's the app right there, available on the App Store. I would highly encourage everybody to download it or go have a look at it. But is this as much fun for you as your day job? Like, or what is your day job now? Like, do you look at yourself as an entrepreneur, business guy? Are you an artist? Like, what is Raine Maida now? Are these things kind of coming together?
I think there's a lot of synergy. Like, there's even the design, the user flow, make it so easy to download music and listen to it in your car, wherever you are, going for a run or working out. Like, that does take creativity, so I definitely like those challenges on the creative side. I kind of do it all. Like, I love being able to bounce around, because I think they if I get off a call and some guy's like, I think Drop sucks, I feel better.
I have those calls every day, by the way, just so you know. It's like an ongoing phone call with me. It's just good. That's a terrible idea, Dean. Go back to the drawing board. Raine Maida joins us, Our Lady Peace. He's at the Futurist Conference here in Toronto. Kind enough to join us. You and I were chatting in DMs. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is because I watched Trainwreck Woodstock 99 on Netflix this last week. You were at Trainwreck Woodstock 99. Did you watch the doc? What'd you think? And then we can kind of get into the nitty gritty, because it was fucking bananas. I didn't know any of that. I knew none of that. I'd heard you from time to time go, it was crazy. I didn't know, but I didn't know it was that insane.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few, like, visualizing and seeing him on the screen was a little shocking, but I mean, I like every doc. Like, I love docs, and every doc, they always find a narrative and it's just it, and they create this certain narrative to kind of sell it, right? But this thing didn't have to do that. Like, it was crazy there. I can't remember who said it in an episode, but someone said, yeah, they just didn't take care of the kids. And that really hit home with me. At the end of the day, there was all these like if you built a Venn diagram, it was like almost like a human rights circle, you know, where there was no security, no clean water, no shelter. And then there was like the commercialization circle of just waste. And then what you guys, when I first came on, we were talking about the music. There was a music thing where they like programming like it properly, where I don't know, there wasn't like a thing they did at the end with the candles. It's like what? Are you crazy? Like that is so like everything that just happened. So that Venn diagram just like chaos. It's like, man, there's no way this thing ends well.
Did you know? So if you haven't seen, folks, if you're listening to us on the audio version of this, if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, we're talking about the Trainwreck Woodstock 99 documentary. Raine Maida, obviously Our Lady Peace lead singer, was there, or Our Lady Peace was playing. And when you got there, were you scared? I mean, some of the bands that they talked to before and after, like Jewel walked off the stage, the guys from Bush were like, holy fuck, this is like jumping in the deep end of a dark ocean. Like they had no idea because they came on right after Korn, and Korn, like it was a highly toxic male environment. Let's just say that. And the way that they portrayed it was that, you know, angry young men showed up to this, like 250,000 of them showed up to this thing. And it was an entrepreneurial disaster for the organizers, right? Where the goal was, let's make some profit. Let's be greedy. Let's figure this out. They even said it in the documentary. This is about profit. But when you show up, you're expecting what? Peace, love, dope, like in '69. Because did you know anything about what was going on? Did you know about the lack of water? Did you know about the, you know, thousands of people that were getting trench mouth from drinking poop? Did you know about the angry kids?
I didn't know. See that thing, like I didn't know that. So to learn, you learn the business side of it watching that. We got there Saturday around like 6 or 7 o'clock. Age were playing that night, and it was a little crazy. Like you could feel that was like, whoa. On one hand, on the musicians like, this is crazy, like because there was so much, but you always had that thing saying, if this gets like not good, it didn't when Metallica and Rage were playing. And to be honest, if any band was gonna, it was probably Rage. So the fact that not like there weren't any fires set that night, I'm sure there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes, but it didn't blow up. Us like backstage, man, like I think they said in that like I had like a gourmet breakfast. I think I took a shower. Like it was incredible backstage. Right after Willie Nelson, they showed the Willie. It was amazing, and our artists, you know, before and after us during that Sunday afternoon, and like the vibe was, I think our thing's on YouTube. Like crowd's amazing. There's no one was throwing anything, and we're not like heavy Jewel, so we're kind of like in the middle there, and it was like my memories of the thing happened. We were staying, and as dust started to set, it's like that came in, and I think that's when the tipping point of people just clean water, and I didn't know this either. I only learned it from the doc. Like they contract out, and those motherfuckers like started like gouging people like on Monday for a bottle of water from Friday. How I didn't even know how that happens, but they up to whoever they contracted it out to, and those guys just didn't pay enough attention, unfortunately.
Yeah. It was hard to watch. I mean, you know, like we're talking 23 years ago, right? Like this is 23 years ago this year, Woodstock 99. And what they
Yeah.
were doing, and I don't know if you know this or if you found that out in the documentary, Raine, what they were doing was kids were coming in with water when they came into the event, and they were literally taking their water from them,
And their
taking all the
food.
booze, taking all the drugs, all this stuff, but they're taking their water, and so that they could charge these kids. And keep in mind, again, 23 years ago, $10 to $15 for a bottle of water. 10 to
But
$15.
so it started at $4 on the Friday, and then I think it got up. Like I said, those two, the founder of like the original Woodstock, and they were sitting backstage, it feels like, and not paying attention to what was happening outside. It sucks because they didn't, there was definitely like a mad at your dad kind of move some of the bands they had on the bill, but I wouldn't say that was the 80% of the time at Woodstock was actually pretty cool. But those moments that blew up proportion, and not to like tie it into like culture, but you think about what happened at the Capitol and the insurrection. It's like that shit can go off like that. Just I hate to blame the Chili Peppers, but like the fact they did fire, not a great moment. Mm-hmm. Not the best idea to play fire. I get the tribute to Hendrix. Yeah, it's like, but like that probably should have been, cut from the set.
Maybe.
Right? Like, I love those guys, but
based on what happened afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, where they're doing fire, the Jimi Hendrix cover. That was I think you were thinking the second or third episode. It's a 3-part documentary, but it was amazing. It was just amazing how it was the perfect storm. Anthony Kiedis is now a very different account of what happened and why they performed Jimi Hendrix's Fire, to your point. At the same time, organizers thought it'd be a great idea. I know you haven't gotten there, Locke, but you will. To give all these jumped up kids with trench mouth who've been passing out from heat stroke, who are angry and hungry and thirsty, hundreds of thousands of candles and matches.
Great idea.
Yeah. Not a great
What
idea.
could go wrong?
like
Yeah.
those two guys, the promoter and the two promoters, they weren't paying attention to what was really happening. I was out in the crowd, like these people are crazy. You can't get matches and candles. Like we're not doing. Kind of sitting back, maybe counting money. I don't know what they were doing, but they didn't have their pulse, their finger on the pulse, and that killed it, because those images are wild, man. Like those for that, and we heard about it later, and we saw some footage, but obviously if the Ringer did that, they found the right footage, and it's scary.
Yeah, dude, and it was like the fire. They set like hundreds of fires. This is one of them, where they were just literally hundreds. It looked like a bush party with 250,000 people in these each individual little spots, and you can read about it, watch it. It's on Netflix. It's incredible. But I don't know if you watched the end of the documentary where all the propane tanks started to go up. It was literally like fucking Armageddon, and the kids, every time something exploded, the kids are like, yeah, and I'm like, holy fuck, I would be running as far and as fast as I could if I was at that thing. But they fucking loved it. It was like and it's just that mob mentality. You could see it kind of grow in the documentary over those 3 days. When you left, did you hear stories, or when was the documentary the first time you're like, oh my god, that happened while I was backstage eating shrimp crevettes? That's unbelievable.
We left because we thought it was getting crazy. Like literally made a decision, like we should doesn't feel right, and we had the TVs on the bus trying to tune in. MTV even left. Like they were like leaving not far after us. We saw people from MTV, should have been out there really, but they were like getting ready to take off. And so we knew that some of that footage we just never saw on like ABC or even MTV. It really showed like the extent and like all those fires. I mentioned what I saw on TV. I never mentioned, or I never thought it was like 100 fires. I think 3 people died. I can't believe it wasn't more, to be honest.
Yeah, I read that. 3 people
Yeah.
died. One guy of natural causes, a 24-year-old who had pre-existing conditions. He died, and then someone got hit by a car on the way out. But one of the things, and obviously, it's kind of the darker part of that documentary, and it's been written about more times than the shocking parts of the documentary, more than the fires, more than the bands, more than Limp Bizkit's performance, Korn's performance. And the organizers were the sexual assaults that were taking place there, right? And listen, I don't want to get into the darkness of it, but I mean, that was a huge theme in this documentary, and it's been written about a bunch of times. And some of the ladies who were assaulted at this thing, one of the ladies in the documentary, she's like, I didn't know. I was like 14, 15 years old. And I had to think to myself, and we've all been in mosh pits and we've seen people get passed around. And, you've obviously performed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And, there's like this a wild card when you get passed around at the top where someone could grab you or throw you or put you down. But the bottom line is that like, none of those stories had come out up until I saw this documentary. And I knew that obviously if you've been to festivals, that this kind of stuff happens, but I was shocked at the level of, it started to make me think, was that an acceptable thing back then? Like, was I just not paying attention, or was I the guy at the back of, Molson Park, just kind of sitting there with my beer, enjoying myself? Because it's not that is not, I've never really been in a mosh pit. I've never really seen how that stuff works. But some of the stuff that they talked about was like, it was dark, man. Like, it was weird.
Yeah, I think the weird thing was that it happened in Woodstock. I've lived through that stuff. I've stopped shows in Florida, where I see that stuff going on, where it's just like, yo, that same thing. Females being passed across, and people are ripping their clothes off. And when did this be okay? So I'm not numb to it. I just didn't expect it at Woodstock like you, and I think it probably goes deeper than reported. Like you guys were saying when we came on, like I didn't know there was that huge rave thing going. I came at like 4 a.m. there. It's crazy. The security thing is a big thing. Like we talk about, like the fact you don't have security for all these are kids, right? These are like most of those people were kids, have more than enough security. Those guys just cheaped out on every level. Like you can't say it's like you guys were. I deduced from as soon as that guy said they lost, it's like the only reason you're doing this again is not to feel good. It's to make your money back and make. As soon as that becomes the priority, it's like, yeah, they were giving shirts, not even security, some other name, but like that doesn't work when a kid's getting assaulted. You need security.
Yeah. Did you feel unsafe at any point in time? Because as you pointed out, which isn't no.
And like if you watch our set, like it has that, like I think we're on after Willie. It was like, and people were like in a mosh pit and stage diving a bit and stuff. I think when the lights go down too, shit happens, right? Like when it got dark, these kids that are kind of the bad seeds can work with a little bit more, and I think that's what happened, and that's when you should bring more security in. It's pretty. What I noticed first off is like when we got there, we went outside to like, and you could feel the heat like coming off the asphalt because it was on the tarmac, and who knows, no one agrees, but it might have literally been a little bit different if kids weren't so burned out by not having water and stuff to help them with the heat. Because that first time we went out there, I was like, holy shit, why is it so hot? And you realize, oh, I'm on asphalt, and the asphalt the day absorbs all that heat, and it's coming off at night. It's brutal. It was like
Yeah, it was like 130 degrees on the tarmac. Like I read that yesterday. It was like it was so hot that kids were like passing out all over the place and couldn't get their shit together. And then just to get hydrated, they're getting gouged $10 to $15 for a bottle of water. Just fucking wild. I mean, and you know what it is? It's like, I don't know if it's the older we get. I just accepted, what came with festivals, what came with that business, even just talking about it prior to getting into the Trainwreck and the Woodstock 99 documentary. How greed leads to so much fucking suffering. That's what I got out of that documentary.
Yeah.
And how okay the organizers were in minimizing the suffering, covering up the suffering, talking about how it wasn't that big of a deal. I think the guy's name is John Schur. The other guy's name Michael Lang, the original organizer who got into bed with John Schur on this one.
Yeah, those were the two dudes, and they just went with blinders, or they knew and they were like, so they never went out into the crowd, I guess. But people, you could tell, they have. I was on a walkie with Schur saying, yo, don't give them candles. You need to shut up and get off this channel. So those guys had a mission and a plan, and they weren't dynamic with what was happening, and they didn't care, and crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. Raine Maida joins us, Our Lady Peace. He's also got a new app called Drops, DRROPS. If you're looking to build a community as an artist, highly encourage you to check it out. Drops on Twitter, at Drops App. Thanks, Rhino, for doing that. It's also available on the App Store. When are you going home? When are you going back to the beautiful, united, and very divided states of America?
What do you mean? Is something going there?
No, nothing. Everything's good.
I'm going. Luckily, I get to go. Luckily, I just came. We had oysters in our dressing room. It was fabulous. It was so amazing. And now, so I leave tomorrow night, and then I end up in LA on Sunday.
Oh, good for you. How's the tour across Canada? What's it like? The COVID touring, is that weird? I mean, is it? You and I talked prior to you actually going back on the road, and you're like, we'll give it a go, see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna get it. Someone's gonna get it and treat it, canceling shit. And most artists feel it's we can't get out there halfway through tour and then shut it down. We have people isolate in a hotel. We bring someone out. We get through, luckily, but it kind of is what it is. We gotta be out there playing.
Good to be back out, though.
And not just for us, for many reasons. I was surprised, actually, because we went out in June across Canada, and I reached afterwards, people saying, yes, my first time out, my first social outing. I was like, wow. Yeah. I think people were still holding off like that.
Yeah, dude, I went to Rage. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was going to say, it was like you and I, Dean. It was the first time in 2 years both of us had been out. It was when we went to go see Danko.
Yeah, and which we're in the back in the balcony. Everybody's got masks on, and so much trepidation. Really? You couldn't really even enjoy the show. Yeah. And Danko takes it serious, which was great. It was just when everybody started getting vaccinated, right when the big blow up happened with Omicron. Just after that. And then another year goes by, and we know some people with Rage, so they're like, hey, why don't you come down to the show in Hamilton? We got a couple extra tickets, so we go down there. And it was the very first time I had been to a show or been in a mass group of people without a mask. And you know what the fucking amazing part to me, and you guys, Locke, you've probably experienced this. It was such a fucking relief to see so many people in this group, in this crowd of people, happy, enjoying themselves, not asking the person next to them if they're vaccinated, if they're wearing a mask. And listen, we all take it seriously. I take my personal safety and that of my family very seriously. But it was the very first time in 2.5 years where I went with a group of people to a rock show, really enjoyed the show, and just let go and didn't really care about another person's conviction that was next to me. And the other part is that everybody was crowd surfing, had white hair, and you could tell the last time they went and saw Rage, they didn't. But it was you know what I mean? It was just this relief. It was this release for me. And I love the band, obviously, but it was so much more than just going to see Rage Against the Machine and Zach, who had a torn Achilles, sitting there killing it on this weird suitcase, and Tom Morello was having a good time. It was everybody just decided not to talk about it for 2-3 hours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I felt a layer of emotion. Some songs that we play, people get emotional. You see some people crying in the crowd or something on crack. And I think that's what it was. We started to kind of One, I think we realize how much we appreciate and need music. So to be at an event, in a sense, even for me as an artist, but they were just letting go because they hadn't had that chance, and so have that freedom. And I don't want to say it's the ultimate, in terms of like the crowd, what the crowd was giving back, where, we've never been cooped up for 2 years, and then you go just let all these emotions out at a rock show. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Did you feel it too? Was there this extra emotion coming back towards you from the crowd? Like, did you feel that that vibe that you're talking about? It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm out seeing my favorite band. Because like, listen, you guys have a massive following. You've been at this for a quarter of a century. I don't mean to age you, but you still look like you're 25, but
it was, you could not ignore the fact that there was an energy in all these felt a little bit abnormal, and that's why. And it was like, it was literally those shows were so fulfilling because the audience just it was like, it felt more like religion than it ever has, and I don't mean like organized, spiritual connotation to it that just was like otherworldly. And I know the next show went out, but it was pretty special.
yeah, dude, it's awesome that you're doing it. It's amazing. I didn't connect the two about how important getting back to going to shows and how important music is, in bringing people together from different vantage points, vaccinated, unvaccinated, science, anti-science, religious, not religious. Like, it's one of those things that in sports, right? Live music and live sports, one of those things that, everybody kind of gets together and they just choose to forget for a minute.
I realized it from my end as an artist, and like during COVID, I binged everything. Like I don't even if I had Hulu, but I got Hulu. It was on Prime and HBO, and I watched every new show there was, and there was some amazing content out there. And I had some friends that were releasing new album. I could not listen to new music. I went back to old, Nick Cave and Buckley and Neil Young and all these bands that I kind of come up with, because there's such a comfort in that, and how, like, it really is the soundtrack to our lives. And so when it's taken away from you a couple years, man, I think everyone's come back with a new appreciation. But back to the business side of it, it's like, we're going to start taking it back on that end too.
Yeah. Good, man. Listen, I won't keep you. I know you're busy. Raine Maida, Our Lady Peace, and the company that he now is bringing to people, specifically artists, to be able to help them, is called Drops. It's an app, and I'd highly encourage you to go check it out. It's anywhere you can get apps. At Drops app on Twitter is where you can do it. Thanks, Ryan, for doing that. 2 R's and Drops, by the way, and check it out on the App Store. Dude, enjoy your time here in your native homeland. And thanks for doing this, brother. Really great to see you.
Welcome home.
Yeah. It's always an honor to be with you. Thank you very much for having me.
Anytime, man. We'll talk to you soon. You take care.
Take care, man.
Take care, Ray.
There you go. Raine Maida, Our Lady Peace, business guy, NFT guy. Well, I said that NFT, blockchain, digital artwork. And he's that band, Our Lady Peace, is one of those bands that like super serves their audience. They don't take anything for granted. And he's always been like that. Like, that's what the Somersault tour was. If you got a chance to sit down with them to shoot the shit with them. Did you guys go to Somersault? It rivaled Lollapalooza. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah. I think the other thing with Our Lady Peace that needs to be said aloud just is that Raine has evolved as an artist, right? And if you've followed his music, sort of the journey that he's been on, it's been an interesting ride, right? Some bands, they try, and I don't know what it is about that effort. I don't know what it is about sort of taking that next step when you're known for something, because we all have that. I mean, I can hear that snare in Naveed, right? Mm-hmm. Dun, dun, and I can sort of hear that post-grunge sound. Like, I can feel it. We played Naveed this morning, ironically, on the show. But he took Our Lady Peace in a different direction, but sort of he kept the integrity of the band. Do you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
not a lot of artists are able to do that. So what they do is they do what they're always done, and they stay in their fucking lane, and that's it. And they super serve that audience, right? And it's a tricky business when you know, if you're Nickelback and you come out with that sound, you might get stuck there. You might have to stay there. AC/DC released 30 fucking AC/DC albums, and I love AC/DC, but they,
The
I mean,
same
can you
song.
imagine?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if AC/DC had come out with something more like, we're going to be a progressive rock band on this next one? Like, it just would not have fucking worked. Raine has this element to his growth as a musician that not a lot of fucking bands were able to do. Like, he moved into a different lane and took the audience with him, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that's worth mentioning, because I've been a fan of theirs since they came out in the 90s. Anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, it's hard, right? It's hard to pivot and bring your fans along, because you'll freeze them out. Like, look at what, like, people like what's her name, Taylor Swift, what she did when she went from country to like whatever she does now. Everybody like absolutely went nuts, and they said, "Screw you, you're not country anymore." And they like it isolated them, and it put them in a box. And he was able to take Our Lady Peace and move it out of that space.
Well, and they've had band changes, like band member changes and stuff, and it's still like Our Lady Peace shit. Like, if you haven't listened to Stop Making Stupid People Famous, which they put out just in the middle of the pandemic, and it was Raine's answer, like, hey, fuck, why don't you stop promoting all the crazies? Like, if we can just stop doing that for 5 minutes. And he's always been like community minded, socially minded, with the ability to be able to kind of say, hey, listen, we need to kind of contribute to the conversation. And I don't know if you've seen these guys live, but they are fucking unbelievable. Every single time I've seen them, I've probably seen them 20 times. They do such an incredible job. If you don't get a chance to go to an Our Lady Peace, or you haven't had a chance to go see an Our Lady Peace show, highly encourage you to do it, because like a lot of that music is the soundtrack of our lives, right? Back 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was Our Lady Peace. It was
Longer,
the hip.
Dean.
What's that?
Longer.
What do you mean longer?
Yeah. When you said 15,
15, 20.
20, 25. Yeah.
Yeah, Christ, they were in their heyday when you were at the Edge. So that was like huge at the Edge. Our Lady Peace was like one of the house bands there almost.
Yeah.
No, dude, but it was fucking crazy. Like 2000, 2001, 2002. They would come in the morning, because they were fucking great to us. They were really good. All of the guys were great to us. And Raine and the group would come in to do like an interview and a quick song. Sometimes they come in and do a little thing for people. And like, they would outdraw Kings of Leon for an interview. They would outdraw anybody. I mean, like, it was just like people would know they were coming in. And back in the day,
they
we had
still got that
studio.
fan base.
Oh,
they still got that fan base. And that's what I meant. Like, he went from a post grunge outfit into like an alt, an alt act, an alternative rock act, right? And then he moved, and he's still kind of moving. I listened to that last record, and I'm like, he's shifting gears again. The interesting thing, I've always felt a kinship to Raine too, because him and I have both aged so well.
Yeah, you guys both look like you haven't aged today.
I mean, around the same age, and that's
something about
just
that time, I
pisses
think,
me
for all
off.
of us,
always
for the four of us,
right? Just me and Raine.
It fucking pisses me off every time. Not in a bad way, where you're like, you see him and you're like, oh, there's a guy that takes care of himself. What the fuck did I do to myself? What am I doing to me? Right? What am I doing to me? Look at me, and then look at him, and he doesn't look any different from like 25 years ago when I met him in Windsor. And you see him backstage, and he's like, hey, man. I'm like, hey, dude, good to see you. And then 25 years later, he shows up on the podcast, and I'm like, hey, brother. And inside, I'm like, hey, it's so nice to see a friend. Great to see someone you've got, a little bit of history with.
The same fucking hair.
And then you're like, fuck you.
Fuck you. You know what? I hate them now.
He's too good looking. And he hasn't.
I was trying to stay quiet during that chat because we had some audio issues, and for those of you in the chat that were pointing it out to us, thank you. We didn't notice at all.
No,
but we tried at the beginning of the pod to get a set of headphones, but all he had was earbuds, right? And the earbuds don't
AirPods,
work.
Yeah.
Earpods or earbuds or whatever. So you need a direct on a podcast when you're doing this. You need a direct into a phone. Last time we had him on, it was better because he was in his house in Los Angeles, so he had a better setup. He's just sort of on the fly. So I think for the most part, though, I got most of what he was saying, right? There was a couple of words we would lose here and there, but yeah. But again, thank you for all of the technical support today.
Yeah. And then text messages and the DMs on Twitter, they were very helpful.
Yeah. My phone buzzed for like 40 straight minutes. What's up with the audio? I'm like, yeah, we noticed. We can't fucking do anything about it. We're just hanging in there. And I could hear pretty much everything he was saying. Dude, and just so everybody knows, he tried for like 15 minutes prior to the thing. And he's like, does this work? Does that work? Does this work? And then all of a sudden, all of us just said, fuck it. Let's just go. We don't care. We'll get most of it.
Yeah, I love it too when I'm doing my radio show and people remind me that Kim Mitchell sucks. You're playing Kim Mitchell again. This is the second tune. You know he's fucking awful, right? And I'm like, all right, thank you. I fucking want to double shot it as soon as I get that text too. We're going into I Am a Wild Party at a fucking lager,
and then
patio lanterns, for a soda,
and then some deep cuts. Go for a soda. Oh yeah,
go for a soda. Here we come.
Speaking of radio, Mark's talking about playing because he does a radio
Mitchell
show.
Tunes.
Derringer was fired officially. Parted ways. John Derringer. He's a Heritage morning show host, Q107 here in the city of Toronto. Worked down the hall from him for many years. Back in May, there were some allegations made by Jennifer Valentine, former co-host, that he verbally abused her. It was a well-known thing in the industry that John went through co-hosts frequently, and for these reasons. And when Jen came out, Maureen Holloway, who's a lovely lady, Women of Ill Repute with Wendy Mesley, is her new podcast. It's excellent. I'd highly encourage people to download it. Maureen Holloway jumped in and talked about her experience, same as Jennifer's experience, same as Jackie Booten's experience, same as Andrea Ruse's experience. So there's a bunch of shit came up, right? And it was a long 20, 30, 40-year history of John yelling at people, insulting people, something that we've all done from time to time, I would imagine. Hands up if you've never yelled at somebody. Hands up if you've never, put your fucking hand down, Lachlan Cross. You yelled at Jimmy this morning. I heard it on the radio.
Yep, me too.
Literally screamed at him on the radio and demeaned him for like 5 minutes. I heard it. So
hold on.
What?
He deserved it though.
Yeah.
I'm sure Derringer thought the same thing.
There was an investigation. So after Jennifer Valentine put out, if you've been following the story, Jennifer Valentine, lovely lady in her own right. She's got this really cool brand. Her and her daughter do a bunch of stuff online, YouTube. They do an excellent job. They get a great following. She felt like she needed some closure, so she launched a human rights complaint, and then had a big, long video that she put out saying, hey, this is what happened in the studio. Didn't name names, but everybody knew who it was. Turns out it was Derringer. The uproar then started to make it into the newspapers and television stations, and competing broadcasters took great pleasure in writing those stories, may I add, including CTV, which is owned by Bell, which owns a ton of radio stations and compete against John or compete against Q and Chorus. It's a very, very small industry. But today it was D-Day. Sorry, yesterday was D-Day. We didn't say anything about it because I'm like, fuck, I need some time to kind of ruminate on this whole thing, right? This is the post that Q107 put out. Q107 and John Derringer agreed to part ways effective today. This is follows a 22-year tenure as host of Derringer in the Morning. Plans for the show will be forthcoming. The independent investigation initiated by Chorus remains ongoing. Chorus remains committed to having a full, fair investigation that enables all relevant concerns under Chorus's code of conduct to be raised and treats all participants equally, regardless of their current employment status with Chorus. So, the Derringer era is done. Now, keep in mind, that was one of the most highly rated radio shows in the city. That it has been for a very, very long time. It wasn't just John that was on the show. There's a couple other guys, Ryan Parker and a guy named John Garbett. I know both of those young men who are now not young men, but they're men. And I could probably ascertain that both of them are going through it. They were victims, like a lot of people in the collateral damage when something like this happens are also victims, right? And one of the things, and it's fucking weird because I get caught between the Schadenfreude that I truly do enjoy. It's part of my blood type, by the way, Schadenfreude, when bad things happen to bad people. But we forget about the collateral damage, right? Like the program director is a lovely young lady named Tammy Cole. She does apparently a great job. Don't know her very well at all. Mm-hmm. But bottom line is that there are a lot of people that will be affected very negatively by this, that their only crime was trying to work as hard as they could in and around that man so they could provide for their families. And I have been fucking grossed out by the amount of people who are dancing on the graves of individuals who didn't do a thing to deserve this. Like nothing. Say what you like about John. Oh, yeah.
So they're going after the people that were working with him?
Yeah, the people that were working with him. Fuck them for never saying anything. And this seemed to be the theme. They deserve to be fired too. Fuck them. Fuck everybody. Get rid of everybody. It's all about accountability. And I completely agree. However, you can't just fucking throw everybody to the wolves. You can't. And you know, there are people involved that lost their jobs and will lose their jobs because of this. I mean, this isn't over. From my understanding.
Well,
right.
No. Well, the other thing that I mean, it's a little early to be having this conversation, but the other issue with this is that Derringer brought a lot of money to that radio station and that company, and when things go badly and your money goes down, there is ramifications for that in our business, unfortunately. So this isn't the end of the people that are probably going to lose their jobs as a result of Derringer being walked out officially today, because that company will have a hard time replacing Derringer. It's going to be a couple of years. Like you see that when you see a heritage show like that. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be impacted in that building. Salespeople. You know, there's a lot of support staff that are there's going to be the pressure on them, right? Mm-hmm. That's just the way this business is. And a lot of times the problem is, I think what happens is those that aren't directly involved in radio throw everybody into the complicit pile. You're all complicit. You supported this. And a lot of times the environment around a real strong personality like that is very codependent and very dysfunctional. And they are kind of involved in it, but like Dean said, they're just trying to make a living. Right. Mm-hmm. So it is unfortunate. It was
made clear a few times in a lot of the statements people were making that people did try to speak up, but in that sense, like Dean said, they're worried about themselves at the same time, but at the same time, they're worried about, you know, the environment they work in, but they're not being heard because of just what you said. It's the revenue, right? Like the guy was a revenue engine, and what are you going to do? Well, here's some more money. So they instilled the Derringer pay to try and shut people up. So
sure, I'm sorry, Derringer bucks. Come on.
Yeah, if you want to talk about complacency and complicits and being complicit, look at the management first before you start, you know, pointing fingers at the people that were in the room. That's where that blame lies.
Yeah, but you know, and I've had some time to kind of stew on the situation, and I talked to some people that are involved, with the exception of the people who are directly involved. Have not talked to John, have not talked to Ryan, have not talked to commonly known as Flair Boy, one of his co-hosts. But I've talked to some of the people, and you know, I was hard on the management team for allowing Derringer bucks to be a thing. It's like danger pay, but they're called Derringer bucks.
See, we got that.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad you highlighted it, just in case anybody wasn't Derringer following along.
Danger pay,
Derringer bucks. Get it?
Yeah, because that was part of the story, right? Maureen said that in the Toronto Star article. Maureen Holloway, lovely lady.
No, she was when you complained the third time, though, right?
Yeah, the people would complain. Right. Well, that
You
was
know
the
what
thing.
happened?
Is it? And that listen, that never happened in my situation. Lawyer, like no one ever had to have Dean pay. No one ever had to have like
Are you
danger pay to work
sure?
with Dean. Totally 100% sure. We would just fire people or wait for their contracts to run out. That's all we would do. But I didn't go after people like this. Like I wrote a piece about it today, and the truth of the matter is this: is that
I just got them fired. So that I could get more money.
Just fired them. Oh, I didn't ever ask for money. Never once did I ask for more money. Never asked for a raise. Didn't ask for anything. And they never gave me one based on how much of a douchebag I was. And they didn't have to pay people to get them to be quiet around me. I'm like, hey, fuck, go tell them whatever you want. You'll be out of a job. No, but there was nothing like that right up until the end where I lost my mind and I got in an argument with Todd. But big deal. I mean, fuck, it's over. It was like fucking almost 10 years ago now. It doesn't even matter. Mm-hmm. But my point, and it's a very simple point, is that there are a lot of people that are in these high-test jobs. Locke, you would be one of them still, where you're doing live performances every day. The pressure to perform is incredible. Your reputation and your revenue is directly tied to a report that you get every 3 months that you're lucky if you get to see it. So you are legitimately always on edge in that industry, like always on edge. And when we talk about the enabling, right? So you got that major component of like stress involved for the performers. And then you've got the major component of like, say what you like about the people that are in those management positions with Chorus and that were in charge of that. Their job is to keep things up here. Their job is to drive revenue. And John was a huge revenue driver, right?
Yeah.
So their personal interests are also attached to making sure that kind of stays intact and in any way, shape, or form. So in dealing with it, my understanding from these articles and from what Maureen Holloway said in the Toronto Star article and dealing with it, what they said was they'd be like, hey, listen, yeah, he yelled at you and he called you a cunt, but can we just give you 10 grand? Right? That appears to be where everybody's hung up. And I get why they're hung up because it's wrong, right? It's very difficult to rip a Band-Aid off a festering wound, especially a festering wound that is a diminishing product, diminishing technology with diminishing return. They wanted to keep those profits as high as they could, and they're trying to do a job. It is still, at the end of the day, a business. And there are no moralities in business. There's no values in business, specifically in media. I have yet to see a media company that's looked at marine land's money and gone, you know what, you're abusing animals, so we're not going to take your money. They all take it. They all take it. I heard radio stations advertising for that fucking loser Roman Baber, the anti-science, anti-vax asshole who believes that everybody should be kettled into Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. They've taken those ads for people. There are no moral individuals in the radio industry, like none. And when
it's not find, it's all media.
Oh, I mean, all of it. Yeah.
It's not just radio.
Television, print.
It's and you can actually expand that into any business. Is only as moral as the people that run it, and like there's no morality in a business. It's what you put into it, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are you done?
Like,
right?
No. Sorry, I thought I was done, but I'll expand on it. You're looking at a tried and true practice and something that's set in its way, and we're injecting what we would think we would do in that position, right? Mm-hmm. So I get what you're saying, where we can sit here and armchair this. Obviously, it's different with you two because you're in that business, but like from the outside, and the people that you see squawking about it the most online or doing whatever are the ones that have no idea what happens behind those doors. And that's why
they're right.
I just hope
they're right to be judgmental of it, though, Ryan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
100%, because it's disgusting. Yeah. It is. I will jump in and I'll be very honest. I have had some dysfunctional relationships in my business in the room with me, and I probably did not respond the way you should respond ideally. I don't regret any exchanges I've ever had, and including recent ones that I've had with Jimmy. Jimmy and I have been working together for 10 years, and the two of us get underneath of each other's skin. We're like brothers. And so we fight like brothers, quite often. And if anybody witnessed me and Jimmy fighting with each other, they would probably be like, what the fuck is this?
Why are you abusing a little person?
Yeah.
Well, and he'll tell me to fuck off. And you know what I mean? Like, I have never had anybody go to management and say, this guy's abusing. Like, it's never gotten to that point. But I will admit freely that I probably let my anger get away from me more than a couple of times in the last 20 plus years that I've been doing this job. And it is because of the stress. And it is quite often because what you're trying to create, a lot of people don't understand that just putting two people in a room that might have the ability to talk on a mic and have something interesting to say that it brings in an audience is not always going to work. You have to have a dynamic, and you have to have this ability to, you have to be aware of what it is about your personality that works with the other person that you're in the room with. And if you're lucky, and I've been lucky multiple times in my career to have people across from me that I can feed off of, but I am fucking hard to work with. Like, I am a very difficult individual to work with in this environment because I'm a bulldozer. And I really have to watch myself on this podcast. I catch myself every once in a while trying to take control of the reins because I'm not the lead here. Dean's the lead. I play the lead on the locker room. And so I'm expecting Grant and Jimmy to follow along with me, right? And when they don't, it doesn't work. And so there's this tension. And a lot of times you might not be able to articulate. And when I say tension, not conflict, I'm talking about tension in the delivery of what it is that you're doing. Right. So that's why I've said when people have asked me about the podcast and doing this, I've said, listen, this is an interesting exercise for me because I have had to, and I know you guys are probably laughing because I do take control of this every once in a while, but I have had to really work on being a co-host on this. And it's been good for me as a broadcaster. That's why I keep coming back every day. And I don't have any fucking clue why you guys keep having me back, to be honest with you.
Stuff like that, mostly. That's why.
You told me about Locke. Remember we had this conversation? What was it? The dick, the dork.
Well,
and the
we were talking about something. We had a show that didn't work, and I think you and I were on the phone together. I think you called me and went, "Oh, what was that?" And I said, you know what? We have an imbalance in the personalities, and a lot of very successful shows in radio and podcast has similar dynamics as well. It's the dick, dork, deer theory, right?
That's it. Yeah.
On the locker room, I play the dick. Jimmy's the dork and Grant's the deer. Now, that doesn't mean that the deer can't be funny and the deer has to, you can move around in that dynamic, but it generally does work on a 3-person show. And a lot of shows were built on that dynamic, right? Dean probably saw different levels of success at the Edge based on the dynamic in the room when people were put in the right roles. So he probably saw shows work better when everybody jumped in and knew their role, right? Dean's the dick, right? And then he would need a dork. He would need somebody to make fun of, like Todd. And then he would need a deer, somebody that would bring the whole show together, kind of the glue, right? In this environment, Dean's a better driver, better dick than I am. So I kind of got to play the dork, right? And Ryan, you're the deer. You're sort of the glue that holds things together, right?
Yeah,
and if
you
it
can
doesn't
go between
work,
both sides, like you can go between Alberta and like redneck anti-science stuff, and you can go back to learned Ontario. You're able to bridge those gaps.
Oh, I understand now. I'm the one. I'm the hands across Canada. Got it.
Yeah, that's what you are. Yeah.
And you know what? Every once in a while, we can double dick you and fucking turn on your ass, right?
Yeah.
And it still works.
Yeah, that's right.
But
of course,
during the show, I have to be more of the I try to be the comic relief in this environment, And it's hard for me because I am a natural dick, if we're being honest. So I have to work on being a dork, because really I'm not a dork at all.
You'll never fucking be a deer either. That's the one role you'll never be able to play.
I would never
you
be
can
a
vacillate
fucking
between
deer.
the dick and the dork, but you'll never be the deer. And I will never be the deer either, even though I've got deer qualities. I'm somewhat empathetic. I found that out later in my life. I'm like, oh, that's a shame that happened. I would never say that publicly. Like if
That's
I saw
the
some guy-
medication. It has nothing to do with your personality. That's just the medication they put you on.
I'm not any medication. That's the one thing. I
Yeah,
had a conversation with a buddy of mine
you're not
yesterday,
on
and he's
any
like,
medication.
zero, none.
Yeah.
Should I
So
be
that
on
weed
some?
you smoke every night, that's fucking not medicinal at all.
Only Fridays and Saturdays now. Next question.
Are you really down to only
Yeah.
2 days a week on the
That's
old
right.
pot?
That's right. Yeah, it was one of those things because I
I knew something was off with you.
I've got okay. So let me go through my sleep routine.
Talking too much.
Yeah, that's right. I can't shut
lot
up.
of words
when I'm not
now.
thinking. Yeah, I'm
Cacophony
wordy.
of fucking
I'm wordy when I'm not high.
Words.
But I rarely would smoke at all. Never smoke during the day. But every night before I'd go to bed, 2 melatonin, 10 milligrams under the thumb, sublingual, and then I would smoke a bomb, and it was about that big. It was like a
It's
a
true,
2
Locke,
grammer.
I've seen these.
Like it was one of those ones where you're like, and you pass it to somebody and you're like, I can't even get through half of this, but I'm gonna power it through. And I would pass out to the point where I'd go upstairs because I have a routine. Do you guys got a sleep routine? I got a sleep routine. I go upstairs, set up my computer on my bed, plug it in, and then I connect it to AirPlay on my TV, and then I'll get whatever show, Blackbird. I don't know if you guys are watching Blackbird, Taron Egerton, and this fucking crazy fat kid that is just unbelievable. You've never seen a show like this. It's a true story as well. But you got to watch Blackbird. You have to watch Blackbird.
Shit, another show.
That's
I
the
gotta
same
add
guy
to
that
my
played
You have
Elton
to.
John and Rocket Man.
That's right,
Taron
and he's
Egerton, right?
incredible in it. So I'll get upstairs and I'll set my computer down and I'll do AirPlay on the TV on the opposite wall, and I may or may not bring a snack. But
You're a
during the
snacker.
week, oh yeah, I used to bring like veggie sticks to bed. Last night I ate 2 pounds of trail mix. I ate like such a fucking asshole, like just an asshole. It's one of those things where I'm like I can't fucking stop eating.
Oh,
And it's
by
and
the
it's-
way,
what's that?
can I just interject here quickly? Because I was explaining to you guys last week, I had a day where I had 3 massive shits.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, and I kept texting you guys and telling you guys about my dumps.
Mhm.
You know what it was? I figured it out the next day, and I forgot to tell you about this. Aussie Bites. I ate like a half a bucket of Aussie Bites.
Those things from Costco?
Yes, and
Yeah.
they tore through me.
Oh,
Oh my god!
Dean,
I
you would
lost like
fucking
15
love
pounds.
these things.
Aussie bites.
You would love
How do you
it.
spell it?
Yes.
How do you spell Aussie bites?
Aussie.
With
Like
an
Aussie.
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 Sorry,
would
I had to
fucking
get
love
that
it.
out there.
It's
I've been meaning to tell you guys about this. The best shit day I've had in like months was a couple weeks ago, and it was the Aussie Bites.
Yeah. You'll
so
love them,
good.
Dean. They're it's like trail mix, like in a bar almost, like they're little tiny bites. You fucking
Cupcakes.
love them. Fantastic.
Aussie bites.
they're-
This looks like
really
fuck.
good.
I'm gonna put it on the screen. This looks like
Is there
basically
peanut butter in them
asbestos
already?
for your asshole. That's what it
Yeah.
looks like. Pure.
Oh,
And
they-
it
asbestos.
actually looks the same coming out.
Does it really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It comes out like a cupcake too.
Yep.
Well, mine. We don't need to get into details about what the bowl looked like.
Look at that. That's colon blow right there.
That's an
Yeah.
Aussie bite. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
I'd eat
it.
that. I'd eat that before bed.
They're
So that's
so
what I'm trying to
good.
do. Usually, like, because there is a time there, like when you don't drink, you're like, fuck, I can have 4 ice cream sandwiches before I go to bed. No big deal. I'll have 4
Mhm.
ice cream sandwiches. Sometimes it was 3. My record is
Blackbird?
6. Blackbird, yeah, it's a great show.
Blackbird.
You gotta watch it. But last night, so last night I didn't smoke. A couple of melatonin. I get into bed and I'm sitting there, and the melatonin starts to work. I don't know if anybody's had it. It's a fucking
Oh,
brilliant life hack. You got to do the melatonin if you love
Yep.
sleeping. You
I
sleep for like
sleep.
8 solid
don't
hours.
need it.
Oh well, that's because you're an asshole.
You have no
I fucking
conscience.
sleep like a princess every night. I go to
Yeah.
bed. Good night.
Yeah, assholes like you never have a problem sleeping. You're like, I don't give a fuck what
Never had-
anybody else thinks.
never had
have,
melatonin.
and so you never but you never think right before bed. You never think because you're
Not a
like,
big
I don't
thinker.
give 2 fucks about any of those people. No, not a big thinker.
Not a big hang on to shit from the earlier in the day.
Well, you got to be able
If
to
I
remember
piss
it to
you
hang on to
dicks
it.
off, guess what? I have a great evening.
I got it off my chest. Sorry, it's on
Yeah.
yours.
But on the weekends, that's when I'll
Oh, yeah.
and
Weekend
dude,
warrior.
I slept like this. I'll take you through my routine. Friday, I slept from 11 o'clock on Friday to 10 o'clock on Saturday. I slept for 11 fucking hours at 40.
Oh.
Did not wake up once.
Fuck.
Woke up, maybe had the greatest pee of my life. My life.
Oh,
And it was melatonin and it was weed. And you're welcome. You're welcome, friends. It's got to be an indica, can't be a sativa. Just letting you know. That's the string. You're welcome.
There's a hack with the melatonin too. If you take it for more than a month, you got to take a week or two off in between and let your body readjust to not getting used to it. Yeah, no, seriously, Dean. If you take a week or two off of melatonin and then go back to it, buddy, it's like the first time you took it. It's like heroin. It's like the first time you took it again.
Really?
You know,
I've never taken it. My wife has problems sleeping.
Love it.
She takes it.
Love it.
I've told her just to get on the Valium.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Take
For
some of
other
those things
reasons.
Roseanne Barr took. You become a racist.
Do you tell her though? Like, do you tell her when you're arguing?
Yeah, no. I have had a successful relationship, so I know when to drop things like, you should just try Valium.
You tell her when you're
He knows
arguing.
the opportune moment to say those words.
Yeah. I always used to bring like the worst time to bring stuff up. I was the fucking worst at it. Have you gone to your doctor recently? This is in the middle of a screaming match. Have you been to see your family doctor recently? Fuck you! Middle of yelling at me. But that's what booze is for too. Unless of course you hurt yourself when you drink and you don't remember what happened, then you should stop.
I have I get drinking injuries all the time. And there's quite often where I will go hard on a weekend and I'll come home and I'll have a limp or I'll be walking around with something for a week because of being just hammered. I got to get off the rye. Whenever there's a point in the evening where somebody goes, we should switch to rye, that's when I need to go home, because generally that's when, like, if I stay on the beer, I'm fine. We had our lawn darts tournament and our 6th anniversary as a show celebration on Sunday. Major success.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the lawn darts tournament we've been doing for the last 4 years. It's just a bunch of guys who throw darts illegally in a park. And no, this is the first year the cops didn't show up either. We were just underneath the Rainbow Valley Bridge here in Edmonton, and we finished up about 4. We headed back to JT's Bar and Grill. And we kept going. And then I was staying at Grant's because I lived too far away from JT's and I didn't want a $400 Uber. So I took my trailer down, parked it in the back of his place. Then we took off to his place around 9 o'clock. And a couple of people followed us over there. Army Chris and his buddy Dave. And we just sat in the back and we pounded beers. And I was done. It was after midnight. I'd had enough. I was still remembering I wasn't browning out or blacking out. I remember going to the trailer and realized I didn't have my keys. They were in my backpack. And I went back to go to the backpack, and Dave, who was plowed, like he was just shit tanked, he fell out of his chair and hit the gate, and I was coming into the gate, and he fucking jammed my thumb.
Yeah.
It's just a mess. It looks way better today. It's been oozing shit. That nail's fallen off. I can't even bend the fucking thing.
His thumb looks like his toes.
Yeah, I've got bad thumbs.
Wait a second. Back
My
up.
whole
back up.
hand was swollen.
Oh yeah,
You're talking about Dave, the guy we had on the podcast who was in Mexico with Army Chris, and both of those guys drank half a bottle of Patron in a half-hour podcast. That Dave? You're talking about that Dave? You're talking about Dave, the guy with the yellow eyes, yellow face?
Yeah.
That Dave? That Dave? And so you're saying that he was sitting down, just sitting there, and fell out of the chair? He just fell right out?
It felt like it sounded like and looked like he had hit the fence at 60K. So I don't know how he fell out of his chair so hard.
That's impressive.
Like, it was dark and everything like that, but the fence, the gate swung back, jammed my hand.
Yeah.
And of course now Grant's new wife, Michaela, who's sober, she just had a few glasses of wine. She was trying to be, responsible while we were pounding booze, and she's trying to fix my hand, and she had to wrap it, and it was bleeding all over the damn place. So that's my latest drinking injury. I'll make sure I'll let you know about the next one.
I have a buddy
that's the first one where it wasn't my fault. Like, I was drunk, but I was just reaching to go back in to get my keys and got Like generally it's my issue, right? Like
I have a friend who will remain nameless. People will know who he is if I say his name, so I won't say it. We go out, this is about 10 years ago. We go out and light it the fuck up one night in downtown Toronto, like just lit. There's like 7 of us, bottle service here, bottle service there, bang, 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 bang. And then we go for a late night dinner at a restaurant that's closed. And some of my friends have the ability to tell people to open those up. So it's like, open up the restaurant, we're coming. So it's like, guys gets out of bed and he goes to the restaurant, nice restaurant, and he serves us. And we're all hammered, even more hammered. One of my friends is walking out of this restaurant, slips. This is in the middle of winter. Slips. And the yell and the scream out of this guy was like fucking Armageddon. You've never heard anything like it. And his house was literally a stone's throw away from the place. So we pick him up and we walk him home. Walk like 4 city blocks downtown Toronto. Get it to his house, put him in a chair. We start drinking. He falls asleep in the chair. I don't remember most of the night. The next morning, I wake up and I've got, this is like at about 11 o'clock. No. Better than that. Better than that. I've got a picture from said person having a cast put on from his hip down to his foot. He had a compound fracture in his leg, and we made him walk home.
Walk it off, bitch.
That is by far, other than death, and I've never seen someone die from drinking yet. I'm sure it's happened a lot. In fact, it happens every day, but not in this situation. That was, and the look on his face was like he was dying laughing because he could not believe it, because he did not know how he broke his leg. Like he had no idea. And so he was sending this around. And he's like, guys, I'm in the hospital getting this set. Anyone you want to tell me what happened last night? Oh my God. So I emailed a friend of mine. I'm like, you got to tell him. I'm not telling him what happened because I don't really remember. I just remember him falling down and I was trying to walk him home and him like crying in pain. And we're like, you know what you need? You need another drink.
Yeah, you should
That's
just
what
have
you need.
Come on,
You
there's more
just sit
beer
right
now.
here. We'll give you a drink. And he's like, it really hurts. Oh my God. And the next picture I saw with him literally in traction getting after surgery, getting his leg cast.
Oh
that was
God.
it. Yeah.
That's
so your thumb, pardon me.
Yeah, no. We did some like I have never broken a bone, eh? I broke my tailbone.
Really?
That's the only I've never broken a bone, and I've had some major fucking falls. I've got like boomerang bones or something. I don't know what. Yeah, we used to go down to the sand pit when we were kids, and there was a car down there that the family that lived just up on the hill put in there just for fucking around, and it had big tires on it, and like it was a sand pit, and we'd take our motorbikes down there and take jumps and everything like that. And when we got drinking, we'd get into this car, and they had welded a metal chair to the roof, and we used to literally try to get the person off the chair. So one would drive and the other one like rock, paper, scissors, and hey, look, you're on the chair. And he'd be like, and you had to hang on. And there was countless times ass over tea kettle, hit the hood of the car, get hit by the car. Like it was like, I can't believe we did not die.
What province was that?
It was BC, Southern BC. Yeah. Grant tells a great story. He said, and he's not that old. He's like 33. And his dad, when they used to go to the dump, if they had a fairly decent load in the back of the truck, he'd make Grant lie down on the shit in the trunk.
So it wouldn't fly out?
So it wouldn't fly out.
Oh, the fucking 80s were the best, eh? 80s and 90s. They're the best. Yeah, and you know what? It's funny now. Like, I was thinking about it in terms of the Derringer stuff, because like we used to just call that yelling at people, right? That was like a verbal abuse. It was just like, oh, you yelled at me.
I think what Derringer was doing was next level.
Oh, I know that because I've seen it. But what I'm saying is that traditionally back in the day, it was just called yelling. Guys like that were mean. Like back in the day, drinking and driving was like,
it was a sport.
Just
the cops would just
cops
they would hey, just
they
follow my lights.
Booze.
We're gonna take you home.
Back in the day, seatbelts were a fucking joke. Like I remember literally driving from Vancouver to Saskatchewan with my parents, sleeping on the floor on the floor in the wheel well of the car.
Yeah.
Like sleeping in the back. You know, they had that big ledge where the speakers were in the back.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad were smoking in there. And if we coughed too much, if this is no word of a lie, if we coughed too much, my parents would be like, oh, fuck. And they'd roll down the window for like 4 seconds, air out the car because it was all hot boxing, right? It was like this thing. And I remember thinking to myself, like, now, you'd never get away with that.
No.
You never get away with that. You can't, like, if someone saw you smoking in your car
with your kids,
with your kids,
the law.
They would
police.
They'd call the police. You had someone tail you home for smoking in your car against police.
Yeah,
and I get caught between like, have we just turned into huge pussies, or were those great ideas? Like, is it a great idea to have your 12-year-old lay on the garbage on the back of the truck just to make sure it doesn't fly off, and have you be the paperweight?
Well,
was that a great idea?
It was either that or one of his sisters, and he has no other brothers. So
it's true, though. I get what you're saying.
But are we pussies?
Couch to the back of a truck in the middle of winter, and we'd hang on that fucking couch, and my stepdad would like, and he'd be doing this in the subdivision we lived in.
Yeah, it's called trailer park sledding.
Yeah,
we did that too. My brother
we'd be on the couch like this with our feet up. And we'd be just screaming with laughter.
Yeah.
Just screaming. And then every once in a while, we'd catch something and the couch would flip. And then we'd all go tumbling like fucking garage sale. And then we'd get up and go, let's go again. Locke, you're bleeding. I'll deal with that later.
Don't get it on the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do my brother was 10 years older than me, so I always had that advantage where I was the test dummy all the time. He's like, "Oh, Ryan will do it," and it was like, "If you want to impress your older brother, of course I'll do it. I'll hang on to that GT snow racer behind your car going 60 down Coots Drive in Dundas, going around, and his friends are pissing themselves high as kites at the little kid that just fell off into a ditch. So I get that. And yeah, we survived, but some didn't. So they made some rules, and that's where we live now.
The odd
and it was
time
probably
someone would die
for good.
They fucked it up for everybody. Yeah, that's bullshit. I totally agree. Yeah, some fucking little asshole kid that died after his dad was dragging him behind the truck on a lazy boy. He's like, "Fuck, you ruined it for the world, kid." Wherever that kid is,
we just can't have any more fun anymore.
No, and they still don't let him live it down when they go meet him at the group home and tell him every time, "You know what you fucking did?"
Yeah. The kid's like, "I don't know, I just shit myself.
I gotta come here every day at lunch and feed you with a spoon, and now I gotta wear a seatbelt here, you dick."
You're the reason why your mother drinks.
Way to go, dude. Way to go. Yeah, dude. And that's like the fly in the ointment now for people that are like, it's the vax and the anti-vax bullshit. The same groups of people. They're like, I want to go back to that. This is what they don't like. They hate this stuff. They hate going, fucking seatbelts. I come from a time where we weren't forced to wear seatbelts. I don't know if you guys have seen the seatbelt commercial back in the day where there's like a news report. It's just like almost exactly like the vaccine argument where, the government of different provinces were like mandatory seatbelts now.
By the way,
that was in Calgary.
That one was from Calgary. I have that video. I'll send it to you tonight.
Yeah, do it. We got to play it because it's fucking. It's like you can't believe that we were that. Like you can't believe the news story, and it's out of Calgary, dude. I'm gonna find it, dude's like,
I'm looking
for
it right now.
We're here talking to motorists and about the new mandatory seatbelt for you and your whole family that has to wear. Anybody, if the driver's not wearing a seatbelt, he'll get a ticket. If the kids in the back aren't wearing a seatbelt, the driver will get a ticket. We talked to this man about what he thinks. Leans in with the microphone. Guy's like, I think it's bullshit. My kids don't want to wear a fucking seatbelt. They don't have to wear a fucking seatbelt. And here's the other thing. I should be allowed to kick the shit out of them and smoke in enclosed spaces with them right near me, too. That's no big deal. And by the way, they should be allowed to mix my drinks in the back seat and hand me a beer if I want. It's one of the most fucking unbelievable.
My dog.
Yeah, exactly. I should be allowed to beat the shit out of animals in public. Like you can't believe how far we've come when you go back and you look at that stuff. It's fucking mind-blowing.
There's still Jimmy just lost his old man. His old man passed away from cancer a couple years ago, and he didn't make it to COVID. And we were talking about whether or not Jim, his name was Jim, so Jimmy is named after his old man, whether or not Jim would have been like an anti-vaxxer or would have been compliant with the mask. And Jimmy Jimmy loves his old man, right? And he said, no, my dad, because Jimmy complied, right? Jimmy understood that it was for the greater good and didn't go down that path, right? And he was trying to tell me that his old man probably would have too. And I was like, didn't your old man refuse to wear a seatbelt till the day he died? And he's like, yes. He had his seatbelt and he was a plumber. He drove forever. He refused because they made him wear a seatbelt. That was the rule. And he was like, fuck that. Till the day he died, he didn't have a seatbelt on. He had it strapped in so it wouldn't beep.
Is that what he said? He said it strapped in so the beep, beep.
Well,
beep,
and
when
I first started working with Jimmy, he refused to put his seatbelt on. I swear to God, Jimmy would be like a missile if we had an accident. He's all head. Like if I hit something, he'd be through the windshield and down the street like nobody's business. And I'm like, dude, you have to be the guy that wears the seatbelt. You have to be. So, and I used to have to fight with him. Anytime he got in the car, he still does it occasionally. He'll get in the back seat and then look to see if I'm paying attention, and he won't put his seatbelt on.
That's unbelievable to this day.
Yeah.
Right.
There are lots of people out there that will not wear.
Do you remember when the texting and driving rules came into effect? It's got to be about 10, 15 years ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like I think back now to I wrote an entire, because I was writing for Now Magazine at the time, just these stupid little fucking things that they asked me to write. And one of them got me in trouble with my ex-wife. I think it was titled "My Wife is a Bitch." Probably shouldn't have wrote it. Anyway, long story short. So they're like, "Hey, write some." So I'm like, "Sure, no problem." So I wrote this thing about seatbelts, and I wrote it while I was driving home from downtown Toronto to my house at the time in Markham. So it was like a half an hour rip. You have it. You can try to scan. Yeah. Screen share. You can do that in a second. We'll play the video.
Go ahead.
So as I wrote it was like a 500 word piece, and I literally wrote it with one thumb as I was driving to prove that. And at the end of it, I'm like, now I'm home. Everyone's alive. What's the big deal? And now I think back on that, and I'm like, holy fuck, you stupid idiot. I can't but it was like, do you remember the outcry from people back when they outlawed texting and driving? Do you remember that? And now it's like, I wouldn't dream of touching my phone.
A little more obvious to me. I'm still shocked when I drive up. I'll be on the Henday and you'll drive up beside somebody and you're like, you look over and they're not crazy driving with their knees and they're texting their mom. On my way home, do you need eggs?
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, light's green. Do you have the audio? Do you have that video of the seatbelt stuff?
Yeah, I gotta see this.
I'm just making sure that the remember we tried this last time, I think, like this time though. Hang on one sec.
Oh, we'll find out.
There we go. All right. Tell me if we can hear it.
Love to be able to see it as well. You got it.
This is riveting.
No? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Dude, give him a break. He's doing his best. Okay, I'm ready. Hit play. That was great.
Usually Lynn's the better one of the three of us.
What do you got?
This isn't me. Dude, I'm sharing what I've got using the thing it's telling me to do. Oh, entire screen.
We're not seeing it.
That might be it.
Entire screen. Yeah. Entire screen. Just share the entire screen. Presentation. You can't do it?
Just hit a Kim Mitchell tune.
Yeah, it's fun. No, apparently. Can you do it from your end?
Yeah. Just send it to me. I'll play it for you.
You guys are lucky I show up every day.
Just send it to me.
All right.
All right. I'm going to head out.
Why?
Guys.
Sending it to you
my daughter
Twitter
to go to Costco.
Yeah, she can wait to go to Costco. We're going to play the seatbelt video. You're going to stay for that.
All right.
Okay, here we go. We might have it. Yeah, here we go. This is it. This is at Edmonton.
Oh, I have seen this.
All right, hit play.
All right. Let's see.
I want to see the Chihuahua video too.
I do too. Lulu the Chihuahua united with owner after harrowing ride. I kind of want to see that video. We should just do a whole show where we go through YouTube videos. Audio? No.
What year is this? 1989.
Something like that. That's the guy.
I've seen this video. I've seen this, and I was wondering when you said Calgary. I think it was Edmonton. I was going to say that, but I didn't.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm gonna get it right now. I'll get it for you, Lynn. It's not working on your end. That's okay. We'll get it. You got to watch it.
Oh, okay.
I can't leave this show without
That is
showing you.
Edmonton. That's just off Saskatchewan Drive.
Alberta Attorney General.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, dude, it is, and it is so Edmonton. Like when I watch this video, I'm like, oh, that's where all the anti-vaxxers came from for sure.
Fuck, that's not the case.
Oh my god!
We
Yeah,
just
there it is.
tweet
See,
it out
that, guys.
afterwards. You guys tweet it out on the account, on the Dean Blundell account.
I will,
and then people can go watch the damn thing.
Hang on. This is the. I'm gonna do the Chrome tab. Right, yeah. Oh, right here, dude. You guys are gonna fucking love this. You see it? Can you guys see it? Yeah, you got it.
I think I golfed with that guy too.
Time now for our regular Friday look back into the CBC archives. This week, 1989, when the use of seatbelts was a controversial topic in this country, especially in Alberta. It was the last province to enact seatbelt laws, and in this next story, one man fought against them and he won. Here's a look.
An Alberta judge has ruled that the province's seatbelt law is unconstitutional. Tonight, police department.
Can you believe that? An Alberta judge? No way. You don't have to wear a seatbelt if you don't want to, fella. I can't believe the first challenge came from Alberta. Anyway, we continue.
Have been told to stop handing out tickets to people who are not buckling up. It's all because of one man who fought the law in court. He said it was a violation of his rights for the province to make seatbelt use mandatory. Whit Fraser reports.
Hit full screen.
Not long after Alberta's seatbelt law came into effect 18 months ago, Kim Mayer of Calgary challenged it. He believed the government had no right forcing them to use seatbelts. What's more, he argued there are cases where the seatbelts are not safe. The court fight cost Mayer $11,000, and today he won his case before the Court of Queen's Bench.
Gives me faith in the country. I think it's a free country again. I was totally shocked that Alberta would pass a seatbelt law. It just didn't seem like the kind of thing that people in cattle country would take.
There was no doubt 18 months ago the seatbelt law was a hot item in Alberta. Everybody had an opinion. And today, many have an opinion on the Calgary judge's decision.
People should have the right to decide whether they want it or they don't want it. I wish I knew that judge. I'd buy him a bottle for that.
The people who see the outcome of car accidents argue that the belts
my
can
dad.
prevent injuries and save lives.
You know, seatbelts work. Thanks, pretty often.
If you think of the lives it saves and of the cost to society, it is indeed a tragedy for the health of the people of Alberta.
That is for fucking real, boys.
Yeah, that's funny.
That is
I
like,
love that.
just even the fucking cars they're driving, and the guy's like, I'd fucking like to buy that judge some booze for allowing us to not wear our seatbelts anymore. And the paramedic going, yeah, they work. It's like exact same thing with the vaccines. Exact same thing.
That's
this
the
is a free
convoy
country. I
all
should
over.
have to wear. Yeah. But like people don't share the same values as we share, right? I just find it fucking fascinating how far we've come. I think it's hilarious. Hilarious.
You know what it is, though? Honestly, I mean, it is how far we've come, but we're still seeing signs of it. And I have this muscle too, and I gotta stop myself from flexing this, because I do not like to be told what to do.
No way.
You don't say.
I automatically assume that if somebody has decided that they're going to make me wear a mask, I'm going to hate this idea, because I didn't decide it for myself. And I still kind of feel like that with how they handled it. And you can't do this anymore because of the world we live in, but I think that politicians should have stepped up to those podiums and they should have said, listen, here's what works. Wash your hands, you monkeys, put a mask on and try to social distance. And we're going to work on a vaccine that is going to help you. If you don't want to do any of that, that's on you, but you might fucking die. Have a good night, everyone. Like, I think that's the way they should have handled it. And I think we would have had less issues. Right. Yeah. I mean, and again, I understand why you can't do that, because you're supposed to try to take care of everybody, and that's their job. So you try to get everybody to comply. But when you do that, this is what you end up with. And I understand it based on how I'm wired. And this has been me for my whole life. Yeah. When somebody told me I couldn't do something, that was the first fucking thing I was going to do that day.
Yeah, in front of them.
My wife.
In front of yes.
I told my wife, you got to stop telling me not to smoke, or I'm going to smoke until I die. And when she did that, when she stopped, took me 10 years after that, but she stopped.
Yeah, it was totally it. That was totally it. That freedom finally allowed you to make that decision.
You're such
for yourself.
a fucker. That's unbelievable. He's like trying to hold himself up as a guy who doesn't like being told what to do. And he's like, you got to stop. He goes, if you stop bugging me, I'll quit. And I did a decade later. What a fucking hero, dude. It's unbelievable. But I'm the same, dude. I'm the exact same way. That's why I cannot start this show on time.
That's
right. And I was like that with masks. Like, I'm a mask guy. I still wear a mask when I go into certain stores, especially when I'm in certain groups. And if I go into a store, and I'm a mask guy, right? And someone's like, your mask, you got to put it on. It doesn't happen anymore. But what it did, all of me wanted to go, fuck you, even though I totally believe you're right.
Yes,
like all of face. Me. Yeah. Fuck you.
We need, right, and if I would bring anything back, it would be I don't know about you guys, but in my Twitter feed, there's this ongoing fight since Andy Lee was on last week, and it ended up evolving to a conversation about whether or not Justin Trudeau should have talked to the. Now, listen, I'm well aware of the fact that it would have made zero impact on that convoy and the people that were in Ottawa to go home. But I'm telling you right now that I think he should have got, like, I think we've lost that leadership where people don't care anymore. There's no more Ralph Kleins, right? You just don't have those guys that step up and go, you know what? You might not like me. You may not agree with me, but I'm the fucking leader. Get off my fucking lawn. I would have had, and I know that would have had no impact whatsoever on the people in Ottawa. But the thing is, at some point, he needs to realize, and leaders as a whole need to realize, that sometimes you do things for the people that aren't going to listen. That like the guys on the sidelines. Not the guys in front of you. You're doing it for guys like me that are desperately seeking some sense of, from our leaders, some sense of, like, just some balls, some cojones, you know?
Yeah,
but
dude.
Totally. I don't know.
Oh, I do.
I don't know.
I love that. I would have loved that. I respect him so much more.
Loved
if
it.
He just came out and said that.
I would have loved it.
Fucking losers. Get off.
I would have voted for him in this next election.
Yeah, me too.
You know how anti-liberal I am. If he would have gone out and just said, "Get off my fucking lawn," and then walk back in, I would have walked to a voting, like, a poll station and voted for him right then.
I like that guy. He's in charge.
There's no election right now, but Can I vote, please?
Can I vote?
Let me vote. I'll vote
Give me
now.
a ballot.
Before we let you go, just real quick, some sad news out of Edmonton, actually, Locke, and this just came across my feed. Ben Stelter passed away, a little fella that had cancer, just this afternoon.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He was there for the Oilers ride, and a huge rally and cry behind that team. Little guy had cancer and fought it valiantly. Mike Stelter's dad put this out. We talked about young Ben a couple of times, and I know you talked about him several times, Locke. His dad said, the world lost the most special boy and an absolute hero last night. Ben, you're the best son we could ever hope for, and you were my best bud ever. Your sisters were so lucky to have you, and such a sweet brother. You fought for so long, so hard, and beat so many odds, and he is now at peace and no longer suffering today. So if you could think about it, keep the Stelter family in your thoughts and prayers today, because that's the real stuff. Like, we can sit here and talk about fun shit and weird shit, and we can talk about business and vaccines, and we can talk about seatbelts, and we can talk about pop culture, but a family lost a brother, mother and father lost a son, and this poor kid was given all kinds of challenges to overcome that most people couldn't dream of overcoming, and he had to do it in a very short period of time as a very young man. And he was incredibly motivational, not just the city, not just the team, but the individuals when it came to strength and living out your life and enjoying your experiences. So my absolute thoughts and prayers are with the Stelter family today. That is incredibly sad stuff. There you go.
Thanks for doing that, Dean.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, but he's at peace, right? It's a lot of the things that we don't understand or we don't appreciate, and death is one of them. And sometimes, in a situation like that where someone has struggled for so long, and he's so young and he's such a warrior, his journey is over. He's completed his journey, and wish them all the best. Thanks for doing this, boys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
What a ride it was for him too. Go check out his videos. Go search him on Twitter. You'll find tons of videos of him cheering on the Oilers, and it was fantastic.
Beautiful. My favorite moment when he was shooting his Nerf gun at Kachuk in the in the playoffs.
Yeah, after they got drubbed in game one, and he's like, Kachuk, and he's shooting the Nerf gun at him. Yeah, he was a beauty, man. And we get to take that experience with us, right? Every day. Yeah. We take that experience, we take that joy that he gave, we take those stories, we take those videos with us, and that's the beautiful part of those lives. So thanks for doing this, guys. Really appreciate it. Lachlan Cross 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. Give him a follow at Lachlan Cross as well on Twitter at Ryan Lindley, which is a shame. You got to stop doing that.
No, I follow everybody back.
I'd never tell you what to do. Dude, we just spent the last 20 minutes talking about how much we both hate it. I'd never tell you not to. It's just not a good strategy. But do whatever you want. At Ryan Lindley on Twitter. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. You can follow him there as well. Sheep Will Shepherd podcast. Go and download it. Thanks for doing this, dude. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was great to see Raine.
Yeah, it was.
See you tomorrow.
All right, pal. We'll talk to you soon. And thanks to Raine Maida for being part of the program as well. Don't forget Drops app on Twitter. Give them a follow and download it if you're interested in making some money. And you're an artist and you want to connect with people and you don't want to have to go through all that bullshit that most artists go through. Raine is looking for those solutions, and it's a very cool one that he's found and developed just for artists right now. But go and check it out on the app as well. And give him a follow. It's Our Lady Peace on Twitter. Simple, super simple. Raine Maida on Twitter too. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, this is all brought to you in part by our friends and powered by our friends at kivlaw.ca. If you're looking for a good defense attorney in Southern Ontario, Rob and his crew are the best lawyers, actual human beings who actually give a shit. So make sure if you are in legal jeopardy, if you've got some issues, if you've done something you shouldn't have, or if you've been accused of something you didn't do, and you just need to talk to someone about your options, Robert at kivlaw.ca. Go to kivlaw.ca today to check them out. And don't give your life away if you don't have to. That's the key here. Again, kivlaw.ca. Email Robert at kivlaw.ca today for more information. Also, our friends at Easy Auto Financial for making this possible as well. If you're looking for financing in a vehicle, these guys are the best. Awesome. Incredible. We've sent a lot of people to them, and everybody says the same thing. They make it easy for me. I was nervous about my credit rating, didn't have to worry about that dealing with Easy Auto Financial, and that's what they do. Free financing, and they take care of all the legwork. It's totally turnkey. These guys are your friends in buying a car. Go to easyautofinancial.ca today. And, of course, Ed's Fine Imports and his Gitch. Give me some of that Gitch, Ed. Give me some of that Gitch. I put on my black and golds today. It's got the pouch in the front, guys. It's, you know the feeling when you put on a fresh pair of underwear, like brand new pair of underwear. It'll send them to you. Best underwear on the planet. Luxury branded underwear, boxer briefs, pouch in the front, super soft, super breathable, ton of different colors. And you can order online, and it'll give you a free pair when you do. Go to edsfineimports.com, massive online store. When you place an order, buy maybe some Johnny Varvatos stuff, or you might get some 34 Heritage stretchy jeans. You might cash in on like a 50, 60, 70% off in the blazer/suit department. Doesn't matter. Massive online store, but buy his Gitch too, because he'll send you a free pair when you buy 3 or more. Gitch3 is your promo code. Go to edsfineimports.com. Sign up for a newsletter at deanblundell.com as well. And don't forget to subscribe to all our channels, including on YouTube, Dean Blundell Show, D Blundell TV, on Twitch, and of course, wherever you download your audio podcasts, basically everywhere. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Really appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow, friends. Bye-bye.